Hi, kids. I should say boys and girls. My son told me it's not nice to call children kids, but you know how I mean, and what everybody does, they all call you kids. Today, I've got a book I think you're going to really like. It's funny, and it gives you a lesson. And how many of you live in a house with neighbors next door? Most of you? Okay. How many of you live in an apartment? You know what an apartment is, where there's lots of people in one building and they have maybe different levels or maybe different areas of the house. So this is a story about the people that are in this story. They live in an apartment building and each floor has a different family. So this is an unusual story. I think you'll have fun with it. So it's called A Pig is Moving In. One morning, as Henrietta Hen was hanging out her wash, Dr. Fox greeted her with an exciting news. A new neighbor is moving into our building today. Oh dear, said Henrietta. I hope it is someone quiet and tidy. Nick Hare popped his head out of the window. A clean cut or orderly mole would be nice. Soon they heard the new tenant arriving. Nick Hare, Dr. Fox, and Henrietta Hen all hid at the top of the stairs to get a glimpse of their new neighbor. When they saw him, they couldn't believe their eyes. He was not a clean cat. He was not an orderly mole, nor was he a fox, a hen, or a hare. Oh my, gasped Henrietta. It's a pig. A pig is moving in. They won't do at all. Everyone knows that pigs are messy and dirty and sloppy. Dr. Fox and Nick Hare nodded in agreement. Later that day, Dr. Fox met the pig carrying firewood. Dr. Fox walked by fast and didn't say hello, but he did slow down enough to see what the pig was up to. And he wasn't a bit surprised when the pig dropped some pieces of wood on the sidewalk. See, he's watching him out. Look at the look on his face. And the pig is hauling in, it looks like wood for a fireplace. Dr. Fox was to complain to Henrietta Hen. What a mess. That pig has left wood all over our sidewalk. Oh dear, said Henrietta. Excuse me. She went out and looked, but she could not see any wood. Dr. Fox must have swept it up, she thought, but it was the pig who had swept up the mess. Then he went up to his apartment to build a nice fire. And here is the pig building a fire in his fireplace. The page. Next, it was Henrietta Hen's turn to meet the pig. He was carrying 2 heavy bags of groceries. She didn't say hello to him either, but she did sneak under the stairs to see what the pig would do this time. Now he's dropped this big bag of flour and it made a terrible mess in the hallway. And she wasn't a bit surprised when he dropped the bag of flour at the bottom of the steps. It burst open with a puff and a splat. I have terrible time turning pages, kids. Henrietta Hen went to complain to Nick Hare. What a mess. That pig has left flour all over our front hall. It is covered in flour. How dreadful, exclaimed Nick. He went out and looked, but he couldn't see any flour. Henrietta must have cleaned it up, he thought. But it was the pig who had swept and mopped the floor. Then he went to his kitchen to bake cinnamon cookies. And here he is with the rolling pin. He's going to make cookies. He got a nice stove and he's got some pretty dishes. Next, not long after, Nick Hare met the pig. He walked slowly behind the pig so he wouldn't have to say hello, but he did want to see what would happen. He couldn't believe his eyes as the pig was carrying mud up into his apartment. The mud was dripping all over the floor and the pig walked right through it, leaving a trail of footprints behind. See where he was walking? He walked in it and he left a trail on the floor. Nick Hare went to complain to Dr. Fox and Henrietta Hen. What a mess, he said. That pig has left mud all over the stairs. Disgusting, agreed Dr. Fox and Henrietta Hen, shaking their heads, but when they went out and looked, they couldn't see any mud. Nick must have cleaned it up, they said, but it was the pig who had scrubbed the stairs 3 times over, and it wasn't mud, it was clay. The pig was taking up clay to his workshop to make pottery. And see, he knows how to make cups and bowls and vases out of pottery. A lot of people do that. It's an art project. That does it, declared Henrietta, Nick, and Dr. Fox. If a pig wants to live in our house, in our building, he must behave properly. Otherwise, he will have to go. And they marched upstairs to tell him. And they're each taking something with them as something that may hurt him. Maybe they'll scare him with it. They rang the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Oh, hello, said the pig. He was surprised to have visitors so soon. Dr. Fox, Henrietta Hen, and Nick Hare were about to complain when the door opened wider. A sweet smell of cinnamon floated out, and then they heard a fire crackling in the pig's living room. We noticed a mess in the hallway, began Dr. Fox, but I do apologize, said the pig, and I hope I've cleaned everything up thoroughly. Dr. Fox, Henrietta Hen, and Nick all looked at one another in surprise. So it wasn't you who swept up the wood, said Henrietta to Dr. Fox. And it wasn't you that cleaned up the flowers, said Nick to Henrietta. And it wasn't you that washed the mud off hoof prints off the floor, said Dr. Fox, and Henrietta spoke to Nick. Very embarrassed, they realized the pig had cleaned everything up himself. My name is Theodore, said the pig. Will you join me in with some tea? They looked at Dr. Fox. Henrietta and Nick went into Theodore's bright, clean kitchen and helped him set out tea and cookies. And you'll see he's taking out the cookies, and they got a game over here, and he's even helping with the tea, with the teapot. And they're all they act like they've been friends forever, don't they? I have a new game we could play, said Theodore. When he got out, Henrietta was flattered to see that he had made a special playing piece for each of his new neighbors. You have a lovely apartment, Theodore, said Nick Hare, biting another cookie. It's a beautiful place, echoed Dr. Fox and Henrietta Hen. They were happily imagining all the cozy afternoons they were going to spend together. What a wonderful new neighbor they had. And here they are playing the new game, and they've got cookies handy, and they've got tea and teacups there ready. And that is how they got along together, because the pig was not a dirty pig. The pig was a nice animal that cleaned up after himself. So don't judge your neighbors by what you've heard before, because he was a good neighbor, and he moved in, he took care of his own messes. And most of the time, most people do. And if you live in an apartment, let's hope you don't have a messy neighbor. I bet you don't, because most people keep their place clean. Have a good day, and I'll look forward to seeing you again. Bye.